Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So last time we talked about, we continued the introduction about purification of nafs, and we started with one topic, which is al-ikhlas, which is sincerity, and we defined the word ikhlas, and we say that there is no equivalent word in English to ikhlas. Sincerity does not give this the exact same meaning of ikhlas. So linguistically, ikhlas means purifying something or making it pure, and idiomatically it means the scholars have different opinions or different definitions of al-ikhlas. So the one who have ikhlas is the one who make purely every move purely for the sake of Allah. And even he said, if every move and every time he does not make any move. So in all cases, he's taking Allah in his account while making any action. And there are other definitions that we discussed last time. And one of them is also to purify the heart from any disease. And actually that's what we're doing by this whole series of purification of nafs. And we mentioned it was an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Prophet Muhammad and for the Muslims to have pure religion. And not only for our rituals like prayer and fasting and these kind, but also for our normal deeds that we call it adat, so things that you do during your life. This also, if you consider Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these adat, which are normal life thing, will be as hasanat, or something that you're doing for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So actually, if you take ikhlas in your account for all your deeds, then even while walking you're going to get hasanat. Because for example, I'm going for work, but for work I'm going to do that in order to do something, maybe to give maybe good image about Muslims, then it will be considered as something as prayer, or as doing something for the sake of, as a kind of worship for sure. And this can be done in many in any action that you do. So your choice is based on what will please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're going to do it. Just briefly, we mentioned the ayat about ikhlas, and we mentioned Surah al-Ikhlas. Why is it called Surah al-Ikhlas? And the word ikhlas is not there in this surah, in the contents of the surah. So now I'll get to the sayings of some scholars about ikhlas. Sufyan al-Thawri, he said, but just to emphasize the difficulty of having ikhlas, because it's very difficult to do something good and to hide that, to make it as a secret. So if you do something good, you would like people to know that you do something good. Maybe they will learn, or maybe you will, you'll feel happy if someone thanked you for that. But if you have ikhlas, you don't care. If people see what you're doing is good or bad, you don't care. You're doing it for the sake of Allah. But this is something not easy. And Sufyan al-Thawri said, ما عالجت شيئا أشد علي من نيتي إنها تتقلب علي. So I did not treat something as difficult for me as my niyyah, as my nafs, my niyyah or my intention. Because it's always changing. So if you can imagine that, okay, I'm going to the mosque for praying for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So while going to the mosque, some people saw you while going to the mosque, so that, okay, I've seen, maybe well done, he's going to the mosque, mashallah, he's a good Muslim. And then after they see you, your initial niyyah or intention was good. But after seeing you, so that, okay, that's good. Alhamdulillah, they know that I'm a good person. Then, your niyyah might change. Or maybe next time you're going to take the same route, so that the same guy see you again and sees you're a good person. Or maybe you say, no, maybe I'm going to take another route, so maybe another person will see also that I'm going to the mosque. So the niyyah is very difficult to have it all the time correct. So, and actually, maybe during your prayer, so you already went to the mosque and you prayed, fine. Nobody saw you, and alhamdulillah, you don't have any problems with your niyyah, and you don't care. But after returning back from the mosque, so you're done. And maybe your niyyah will affect, after someone you see and you're happy that someone saw that you're going to the mosque, you become happy, and this will affect the deed that you already did. So it's not something that during doing the act, it can be before, during, or after. So it is very important to take niyyah into account, and this is what Sufyan al-Thawri is saying, that it is very difficult because it is changing by time. And who is Sufyan al-Thawri? So this person, he said it's difficult for him to have good intention, to have pure ikhlas for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But who is Sufyan al-Thawri? Sufyan al-Thawri is actually one of tabi'in. So he was taught by the people who were taught Islam by the Sahaba. So he did not learn Islam from the Sahaba, but he learned it from the people who learned from the Sahaba. And they say that he is one of the leaders of Zuhd. Zuhd means they don't care about materialistic things. So he's doing everything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he's one of the imams of a hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he is also one of the leaders of madhahib. So actually there was a madhab that's called the madhab of Sufyan, like madhab Malik or Ibn Hanbal. So he has a madhab. But after some time, he did not have a lot of followers afterwards, or his followers did not keep his madhab, but he was this kind of scholars that are really appreciated at that time. And his madhab was known till the 7th century, and he was in the 1st century. So for 600 years, people would consider his opinions as madhab. And Bishr al-Hafi is one of the great scholars, said that Sufyan al-Thawri at his time, was similar to Abu Bakr and Umar at the time of the Prophet. So you can imagine how this scholar is appreciated. And still he said that having a good niyyah, have good intention and purifying his niyyah is something difficult. So how about us? So it's very difficult also for us, so we need to consider that. So if we say, alhamdulillah, my niyyah is fine, I don't care except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I care only about the opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about me, then you should consider, because it's not that easy. Yeah, and the ikhlas, or having sincerity, is one of the actions of the heart. And actually this is the highest action of the heart. So if some of the scholars, like Ibn Hibban, he said he took all the actions or the deeds of the Muslim, and he divided, some of them are the actions of the heart, some of them are actions of your body, some are the actions of your tongue. So he classified the types of actions, and they say that, scholars say that the highest thing, or the highest level or category, is the actions of the heart, and the highest among the actions of the heart is having sincerity or having ikhlas. And this is the main difference between Iman, having belief in Allah, and not having Iman. Because the munafiqeen does not have ikhlas, because they're doing things not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but just to protect themselves, maybe, or to deceive Muslims afterwards. And two persons may do the same action, one get rewarded, get hasanah, and other get maybe a sayyi'ah. And maybe we do the same action, two people do the same action, and this action may take one closer to Jannah, and the same action will take the person closer to Nar. By what? By the intention. Why? So somebody is doing sujood for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the other one is doing sujood for a cow. Same action, right? But what is the niyyah of each one of them? So the niyyah is the core thing of that will affect our how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our deeds. And even you can have two persons praying in the same line, in the same mosque, behind the same imam, but for one it might be also, both of them maybe for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, both of them are for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but someone is showing off, and the other one is doing it for the sake of Allah. So this one get him closer to Jannah, and the other one get him closer to Nar. I will talk also about hadith to confirm this later, inshallah. And Ibn Qayyim said, the actions of the heart is the origin, and the actions of your body, the other actions, are complementary. So this is something essential, and the other thing is completing or secondary. And the niyyah, or the intention, is the soul of the body, or of this actions. And the action that you do by your body is so we have the soul and the body. Please consider the other actions are just the body. So if the soul left the body, then there is nothing, then it's dead. And Al-Izz ibn Abdul Salam, He's also one of the scholars of Islam, and he was called also at his time Shaykh al-Islam, Al-Izz ibn Abd salam. And he said that al-Ikhlas is to do the action that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you sincerely and purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you don't want any appreciation from people, and you don't want to get any benefit, or you don't want to avoid any harm by this action. So you only do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you do not, for example, pray in order not to be so your parents are not angry with you. Then there's no ikhlas, there's no intention, no good intention for it. That's what. Yeah, and one of the actually important saying that al-ikhlas is tasfiyat al-fi'l min mulahadat al-makhluqin, and this is actually very important, that you purify the action from the people looking at you. So don't care about the creatures. So if you do action, if people are looking at you or they don't look at you, or you don't care. And this is the difficult part of it. And then we come to the hadith of Prophet ﷺ in Muslim. Prophet ﷺ said that the first one who is going to be judged in the day of judgment, a man who was a martyr for us, and then he came in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him, what have you done? And then he said, I went to battles for the sake of Allah, and then I died as a martyr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, you are a liar. You fought so that people say that you are a brave person, and they have said, so you get your reward. And then he is taken to hellfire. Then come the next. He was asked what you have done. He said, I learned the knowledge and reading the Quran, and I also taught others Quran and the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Allah, for your sake. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you're a liar. You learn so that people say that you're a scholar. And they said. And then he's taken to hellfire. And the third example, there's the third person, someone who was very rich and wealthy. And then he said, what I've done, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked, and then he said, any way that I can pay or do infaq for the sake of Allah, I did that for your sake. And he said that you're a liar, but you said that so that people say that you are a generous person. And then he's taken to hellfire. So you can see now that the niyyah is a key thing in all our actions. And yeah, and this niyyah, nobody knows about any person's niyyah except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And actually the ikhlas, or having sincere belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is actually the main, the truth of our religion. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَمَا أُمُرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ. So they were not ordered except to worship Allah mukhlisin, with sincerity. لَهُ الدِّينَ. So that religion is only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And other hadith, this is very important and a bit scary hadith. In this hadith, Prophet ﷺ said that Allah says, أَنَا أَغْنَى الشُّرَكَاءَ عَنِ الشِّرْكِ. I am self-sufficient, that I am in no need of having any association or associate. Thus, he who does an action for someone else, for someone else's sake as well as mine, will have that action renounced by me and to him whom he associated with me. So if you do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also for maybe people appreciating you, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not need it. So you will get the other thing, so you might get your reward from the other source, or for the other person that you did that for. So any action that you have other intentions except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This hadith is just saying that. Now I have problems with my my PowerPoint. Hopefully it will work this time. إنما أنا بشر من مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. And saying, I am only a man like you, Prophet Muhammad, to whom has been revealed that your God is one God. So, whoever would hope for meeting with his Lord, let him do righteous work and do not associate in the worship of his Lord anyone. And on that, Ibn Kathir in his tafsir interpretation said, so these are the two pillars of any action to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First one is that it should be only pure for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the second one, it should be correct, which means that it should be according to the Prophet, to the Sharia of Allah and His Prophet. So any one of them, if any of these two pillars or two conditions are not fulfilled, then the action is not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First of all, it should be purely for the sake of Allah, and the other one should be according to Islam. So if you have good intention and you did something wrong, or something that's against what Prophet ﷺ ordered us to do, then it's not also accepted. So niyyah is not enough. We need to learn our religion. And another hadith is also very sensitive hadith, that Allah, so Prophet ﷺ said, some people end their prayer and they only rewarded half of it, or 1/3 of it, of their prayer, or 1/4 of it, or even 1/10 of their prayer. And Ibn Abbas said, لَيْسَ لَكَ مِنْ صَلَاتِكَ إِلَّا مَا عَقَلْتَ. So you will not get rewarded out of your prayer except what you have considered. You know what you're saying. It's not like just you need to know what you're saying. So you need to you don't. It's not like something like you say and you don't need to think about what you're saying, or you're not considering that you're meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you're just saying, you're getting some sounds out of your mouth and doing some motion, that is not accepted. So only the parts of your prayer that's accepted then when you consider that you're praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another hadith of Prophet ﷺ said, so some people will not get out of their fasting except thirst and hunger. And even sometimes they also do not get enough sleep because they do Qiyam al-Layl. So that's all what they get is just being thirsty and being hungry and also not sleeping well. Because if they don't have good intention, or they're doing that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so this is all what they get. And Yahya ibn Kathir said, and this is also very important, that learn the niyyah, learn how to do ikhlas, learn that to adjust your intention, because it's more effective than the action itself. So if you have a niyyah to, for example, do Qiyam al-Layl, and you really do it for the sake of Allah, and you have only 2 rak'at and you slept, then it's a much higher reward than praying for having 20 rak'ahs as for Qiyam al-Layl, and you do not have a good niyyah. So the niyyah is much more important to take into consideration than the action itself. Another also nice hadith of Prophet ﷺ, عن Abu Hurairah, he said, Abu Hurairah said, I said, O Allah's Messenger, who will be the luckiest person who will gain your intercession on the Day of Judgment, Shafa'ah? Allah's Messenger said, O Abu Hurairah, I have thought that none will ask me about it before you, as I know you are longing for learning of hadith. Prophet ﷺ said, the luckiest person who will have my intercession on the day of the resurrection will be the one who said sincerely from the bottom of his heart, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. So if someone said sincerely, La ilaha illallah, is the one who will get, the luckiest one who will get the shafa'ah of Prophet ﷺ. So maybe we can take a few seconds and get our niyyah pure, and we can do it actually now. Maybe this will help us in the day of judgment. And also there is another hadith that someone will come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day of judgment, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask him, did you do that? And this all sins, did you do that? And he said yes. And do you have any excuse for doing that? And he says no. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you have anything that can help you in this situation? And then he said no. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said no, you have something. You did this with good intention. And then it will end up with having a kind of a card. Actually, this is what bitaqa. Bitaqa, card, kind of a card. Card, yeah, bitaqa. And all his bad deeds will be on the scale of the bad deeds or the sins. A very big amount of, a large amount of sins that he did. And then there comes this bitaqa. It was something good that he did, or he had good intention of doing something, and it was on the other side. And then all these heavy things became like nothing. It was with no weight. And what's on this bitaqa? That he said, sincerely, la ilaha illallah. Yes, one points to some points to consider regarding ikhlas and having a good intention and sincerity is that some people says that if people thank you or people appreciate what you're doing, this means that you have problems with your intention, but that's not true. Prophet ﷺ said, there was a hadith about this. But Prophet ﷺ said that someone came to the Prophet and said someone did good deeds and people thanked him or praised him for that. What do you think? Prophet ﷺ, then he gets some of his reward, and he said this is a glad tidings for him, so that inshallah he will get also the reward in the day and hereafter. So it does not, actually the action of people does not matter. If they praise you, it's fine, doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong or you are showing off. And if they do not praise you, it doesn't matter, right? So Prophet ﷺ said that's something good, it's not something bad. So do not be very skeptic if somebody praises you, then say maybe my intention was not for the sake of Allah. Actually, it doesn't matter what people are doing. If they praise you or they do anything, it doesn't matter. And some people even said that being afraid of getting into hell or getting to nar means that you don't have ikhlas. Because if you're doing only for the sake of Allah, then you don't care where you're going, to hell or paradise. But this is also very extreme, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made nar so that we are afraid of, and we should try to do good deeds in order to avoid getting into the hellfire. So if we say no, we don't care, we're only doing it for the sake of Allah, then you don't understand the intention or the why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made nar. So it is okay to be afraid of nar, and it's okay also to do good deeds, so that I want to go to get to Jannah and get to the rivers of Jannah. This is also not a bad intention, because all of them are for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and these are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for us to make it easy for us to do good deeds, or to encourage us to do good deeds. So if you say that I don't care of getting to hellfire or getting to Jannah, I just do this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's kind of disrespectful, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them so that we are afraid of them. If we are not afraid of them, then we are not doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to have in our hearts. And actually, according to the Quran, Sayyidina Ibrahim, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enter Jannah, and he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to وَجَعَلْنِي مِنْ وَرَثَةِ جَنَّةِ النَّعِيمِ, so make me from the people who will enter to Jannah. So this has nothing wrong to do with intentions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسَ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. So for that, people should compete for getting into paradise, for Jannah. So this has nothing to do with. So we purify our niyyah, or our intention, so that we please Allah and enter Jannah. So they are linked. Yes, another thing that also people do is that they are afraid to do good deeds in front of people. So, for example, if you enter for example, you are reciting Quran, nobody in the mosque, and you just reciting by maybe a loud voice, and some somebody entered and he said, okay, because I don't want to have riyah, I don't want people to see me doing that, so you stopped reading and you put the mushaf Quran quickly there so that nobody knows that you are reciting Quran. Actually, this is actually one of the traps of the shaitan. So actually he stopped you from reading Quran. Actually, the thing is that you don't care. If somebody there, you don't care. If see you or say that you're a good person, you don't care. If they don't say, you also don't care. So you should continue doing the thing. So actually shaitan is letting people not doing good deeds by letting them being afraid of having riyah or having bad intentions while doing any action. Yeah, so if one of the scholars, Ibrahim al-Nakhai, said, if the shaitan of the devil came to you while you're praying and tell you have riyah, you are showing off while praying, you're taking long time, then you should make it longer. Okay, yes, I will continue. So he wants to stop you from doing the good thing, so you continue. Don't care about it. It's like some people, for example, someone was about to give sadaqah to put in the box of the mosque, and he felt somebody coming, so he didn't do it, and he went home. Shaitan is very happy, right? Because he prevented you from doing something good, from giving sadaqah. So the main point here, if riyah, or if showing off, or if any deed that you're doing, you should not care about others. If they see you or don't see you, it doesn't matter. So for people to see you while doing good deeds should not affect what you're doing. Should not. So if you can yourself hide your deeds, then it's good. But if not, then it's fine. And they even say that scholars or people who are scholars, people who are famous, they should show that they're not show off, but should show what they are doing, because people will learn from them and they are going to do the same thing. So in this case, showing what you're doing is maybe has a good intention. And inshallah next time. Yes, one last point. In Surah Al-Baqarah, in ayah 245, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Who is it that would loan Allah? من ذا الذي يقرض الله قرضا حسنا فيضاعفه له أضعافا كثيرة والله يقبض ويبسط وإليه ترجعون. Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan so he may multiply it for him many times over? And it is Allah who withholds and grants abundance, and to him you will be returned. And to the other ayah, other famous ayah in the same surah. So in this surah it says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward multiple times for one deed, and he said that أضعافا كثيرة, so many multiples. And the other ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت سبع سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. The example of those who spend their wealth in the way of Allah is like a seed of grain which grows 7 spikes. In each spike is 100 grains, and Allah multiplies His reward for whom He wills, and Allah is all encompassing and knowing. So here is the important. So Allah yuda'if, so He multiply the reward for whoever He wills. So some people might get 700 as in this ayah, and some people may get more, some people may get less, and Allah wills. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not, so nothing is random. Everything is well calculated. And scholars said that this actually depends on your niyyah. If you have a pure niyyah, then you might get multiples of the 700. And in other hadith, Prophet ﷺ said that every good deed you will be rewarded 10 times. And in this ayah, it's 700 times. And in the same ayah, it says that it might be multiples of it. So scholars said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows your intention. And how pure your intention is, how you will get a higher reward. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وجزاكم الله خيرا for listening.